A few days ago, a new museum in Przemysl, Poland opened up. This one of the old great forts from before World War I with a rich battle history. And they started the museum in here. A bunch of guys, they got together, they opened something, and I can't wait to see just what they did, because we all know how the idea of museums sometimes scares me when they're in historical locations. Let me show you what they did. And this is where the front 𝐾𝐿 used to be, as you can clearly tell. Now, as you all know, usually I'm not one for museums, but this is actually really truly special what they did. Here in the old barrack rooms, they created Old Przemysl, the old town. This they did the right way. To a great deal here, which is just awesome. And in the old munition elevator, you still see the damage of the fort. And part of this ongoing restoration effort means that they're going to construct the ammunition elevator, put in a new one. And of course, there's everything they found around here. And to this day, there are still so many things found in the forests and the woods outside. This is, after all, one gigantic fortress that had a gigantic battle. And here they replicated. This is what was found at the end of the battle. And here it is. You all know I've never been a big fan of museums, especially the way the modern museums are set up, very minimalist, full of computer screens and things you can pretty much just see at home. So when you have a fortress, you have a fort, you have something that really was, where things really happened, and you tell me that they turned it into a museum, that gives me images of terror, because I never know what they did, because I didn't know who they are. However, here they did it right. They maintained all the original of the fortress. You still get the feeling you're going through a historic place. They only renovated or put together a minimal amount, so you still have what it was. But what you also have is images and displays of what it was back then. And that is absolutely amazing. So I can't wait for you guys have got to come to Przemysl. For a lot of different reasons, it is a place for historians and lovers of ice cream. Now, from down below where the museum is set up, is where the soldiers were quartered. And then they would come up here to the battle stations. Here were 3 guns and casemates, some in the open, and steel domes up front, including a searchlight that was placed here. Except this gun position had been shelled by the Germans, as they took the fort back with the Russians inside. One of the things you want to do when you make a museum is to make sure that those visiting museums do not die by having the roof fall on them. And this was the original steel reinforced roof, which, well, was missing when Big Bertha came through the roof. And of course, as all the steel domes are hiding, destroyed, or cannibalized, they had to make a new one, and they did. So what they did here was they repaired the key parts to make it still what it was. So you can see what this was. This was a steel cupola, and those firing positions, infantry positions on the top. And they repaired them just enough that you can see what it is without ruining the authenticity. And that is amazing. That is one thing they really need a bonus for, especially the original firing gallery, infantry firing points. Throughout the siege, there were many skirmishes, much bombardment, many probing attacks, until the Russians finally settled in and just waited the garrison out. And they waited for a long time, and finally the fortress had to surrender when they ran out of food and water and medicine. They had eaten their horses and people were dying. And eventually they made arrangements with the Russians for surrender, but before the Russians took possession of all of these forts surrounding the city, all the main parts were blown up, one by one by one. And the inhabitants in the city, they stood there and they saw all the flames surrounding them as the forts went up one by one. Windows were shattered and roof tile fell down. You're gonna do it. This is how you should do it.